Hello, hello, everyone. Hope everybody's evening is going well. My name is Soun, aka Sarilla Renald in game. You're watching episode one of Charting the Course, a series all about HJP, the community, the Kraken's Call Free Company, and the nonprofit. This series will primarily center around meaningful conversations with our wonderful friend, Captain, Founder, and Executive Director Heather, aka Captain Oliver Bentley in game. Our hope and intent with this Charting the Course series is to have fun and meaningful conversations, find opportunities to learn from and inspire one another, share our HJP journey as a nonprofit, free company, and community. As many of you know, HJP has evolved quite a lot since its inception, and going forward, we want to take a build and public approach, be more clear and transparent with this adventure. So this is the solution we came to, and we want to include our community in these conversations, taking any questions from the community and asking Heather directly. And this will be an ever-evolving format. We look forward to the feedback, and we'll adjust as we go along. So thank you, everyone.
That was
So
so
yeah,
great. What a pro.
yeah, woo, yeah.
Good
It's
job.
it's easy. It's easy when you read off, the what you wrote, because I think I've told you guys already. Like if I have it on my, I'm bad with filler words. It's part of my hashtag personal growth. So, but yeah, yeah. First off, Heather, how are you doing?
Great.
I Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry.
just
Yeah.
celebrated my 40th birthday last week.
hmm
And
hmm
just got back from Anime Expo, which is my first Anime Expo. So a little
Did you
tired,
get to
but
Did you get to meet Yoshi P?
I didn't get to meet him.
Okay.
Um, but I met what's his name? Foxconn?
Foxconn.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
He was
hmm
super sweet, and just like everyone, there was a Final Fantasy 14 cosplay event. Everyone there was so awesome. I kept telling Tom like, oh my god, we should totally have an HJP event at one of these things because everyone is just so chill. It's very much the same vibe of this community. So that just goes to show 14 is definitely going strong. It was the panel, like Yoshi had a panel, and not only was two sections of lines that wrapped around one of the halls of the convention center totally full, then they had an overflow line, and then they had to cut it off. So,
Oh wow.
like, lines of people, thousands trying to get in to see Yoshi P,
hmm
which was like really encouraging to me just because I had seen, like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 14 is, the lowest subscriber numbers it's ever been or whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We have some, like, super hardcore fans all the way up till new players all here. It was
hmm
awesome. And then I was thinking, like, this is Anime Expo, but there's such a huge, specifically Final Fantasy 14 presence. It's not just like Square Enix or Final Fantasy. It's Final Fantasy 14 online. Like
hmm
that's the booth. That's the talk. Yeah. So anyway, it was pretty cool.
It's super cool, and I saw the stories on Instagram for you and Tom, like, and just Final Fantasy the 14 account, like Yoshi P walked out like Jesus, and everybody spread, like, just like they were just so amazed by him, and it was really cool actually to see it. And
Well, with
I just loved it. I loved the energy, loved the vibe. It looked super fun.
Yeah, what was really cool was it was not an official 14 cosplay event. Like that was just a
Mm.
fan thing. But that the fact that like Yoshi Piece showed up and just surprised everybody, and it wasn't even technically in Anime Expo. It was like you had to like leave the event. So technically anybody, whether you had a ticket to go to Anime Expo or not, it was outside the perimeter, which I thought was really cool because it was like, okay, even
Oh wow.
even if that's the only thing you wanted to participate in, you could have been there. But the fact
Mm.
that, you know, the whole team showed up just really spoke to me about like they really appreciate the fandom. They appreciate the community. That they would do that. He was just like walking there. It wasn't like staged to audience or anything. He was just among, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I could just like go up and take a photo." And they were so nice. They were so friendly. Yeah, it was really cool. Like especially, as I've learned more about Yoshi P and watching the No Clip documentary and everything, he's just so incredibly passionate about not only Final Fantasy 14 but uh you know, all the things that continue to influence him: anime, manga, video
Mm.
games, Christopher Nolan movies, like TV shows, all
Hmm.
these things. He broke all that down. It was so cool to see the person who's in charge, huge inspiration behind why the HJP community exists at all, to see someone who's so genuinely into the thing. It's like this is not just a job for you. You're in it. You live it, panel or not, uh, whether you had this job or not, you would still be playing these games. You'd still be a nerd. You'd still be into this thing. So that was so awesome.
Yeah, it's super super awesome, and I don't know. I think when I think about our time here at HJP, um, I feel like we share a lot of the approach that he has. The direct conversations, the availability. Like he's approachable. Like it's the same way with you. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like we've taken a lot. I mean, FF14 is the foundation game or the home game of HJP, but it's yeah, we have a lot of similarities there, and it's been really really cool.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with introductions because I think this is
Yeah.
probably going to be a first time for people to get to know you. And yeah, I wanted to see like if I could ask you some questions, and then let me know, and yeah, then we'll take it from there. So it's actually kind of similar to what we did with a recent HJP event that we held Saturday, and yeah, the questions that I have for you are for your introduction. Class jobs, or what are the class and jobs that you enjoy playing in FF14? What is your history with FF14? And do you have a favorite starting city state in 14? So that's Gridania, Limsa, or Limsa and Ul'dah, and why? And then the last question is, what is your favorite childhood video game, or any game that was foundational to you as a gamer? And I could repeat the questions,
Yeah.
just in case. Yeah, yeah. So I kind of like
I'm gonna need them
gave you a
again.
list. So yeah, let me
Yeah.
know class jobs you enjoy playing.
Okay. I played Final Fantasy 14 the first time um as Dragoon. The whole thing as Dragoon. I had no interest in playing a different class at all. I really wanted to play 14 specifically because of the story. Like I just kept hearing this incredible story, and it's multiple expansions, and plus it's Final Fantasy. So I knew, I've played most of them, so I knew I could at the very least expect a Final Fantasy, you know, level story in playing 14. And I think just like when I played it, I was telling myself like I'm at the point where I don't really care about the difficulty of a game or
Mm.
like I feel like modern games have gotten really technical, and which is really cool, right? Like that's really cool that the graphics have gotten so good, and there's so many um, techniques and yeah, I don't even know what to call them, like mechanics
Yeah.
in these games that exist today that I get are a huge draw for why people play games. But for me, I was honestly looking for like a book, just an interactive book. I didn't want to play with anybody. I just wanted to kind of like get caught up in a story. And
Mm.
so I think I just went online and I was like, what's the easiest like beginner class to play Final Fantasy 14? That's DPS, and it was Dragoon. And so I was like, all right, that's the one I'm going to play. My brother, who's the one who introduced me to the game, was like, you have to try this class and this class and this class. And I was like, nope, I have no interest. Like, I think maybe I picked up like Culinarian and botanist just
Okay.
because of, it's crafting gathering, but I was like, I just have
Right.
no interest in another battle class. Um, and it wasn't until HJP that I cared, that I even considered the thought of trying another class. Like it just never
Mhm.
crossed my mind. And luckily, everyone here has been so supportive and just like really, it was a good environment to teach me, hey, this is how you do healer, which I had heard was just, a nightmare. And here's how to play tank, and here's how to play, here's all the rotations of all these other classes I've tried. So I've been able to try several other classes, which has been awesome. Um, I don't know if I could say I have a favorite, uh, just because I actually understand how different they all play. And that has been like one of the biggest surprises because I really didn't think that they would be that different. I think like historically with a lot of RPGs I've played, if you level them up high enough, you're just
Mhm.
attacking. It's like not, you can't really
Right.
feel like the nuance, but with
Mm.
14, you actually can, which is really cool. So, all that to say, uh, I, I, man, I don't know. Um, I think
Because your
Dancer is
last
probably
video,
my,
you were digging tank,
yeah,
like
I
on,
really
on YouTube.
enjoyed Warrior. It was fun. It is fun.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think like the thing that I'm leaning towards is White Mage, but I still suck at it, Like I think I still need I wonder if maybe I do Dawn Trail as a White Mage just to get the reps
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if I have a favorite.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you ever need tips, we have the whole community to help you out.
Yeah.
I'm a white mage too, so I can. Actually, I'm not that good at white mage too, so we can learn together. Um, but that's awesome. And history with 14. Did you? Let's see. Yeah, history. You started back. I think you started a little after. What was it? Endwalker? Is that right?
Yeah. So, I don't remember when Endwalker came out, but I believe I started in winter after Endwalker came out. So if Endwalker came out like,
Right.
a summer, then I
It was
played
like a
that
summer.
following winter, just a couple months after. I
Mm,
think the furthest one was 6.1 because I'm on 6.2 technically. Uh,
yeah.
so that, yeah. So that's when I started. And I had played again because my brother, he was just like, you know, like all of us, obsessed with Final
Mm,
Fantasy 14. Wouldn't stop talking about it. And I mentioned this in like a couple videos on the Heather Just Play channel, but like I was really looking for a game. Like I wanted just a good, solid RPG with a really good story, and I had gone so far back to like the DS, and I was like, just downloading classics of like,
what a
hey,
throwback.
if you miss this, like you should really play it. I started going to
Um,
mobile games. I just was like, I need a game, and nothing was scratching the itch. Um,
Interesting.
and so finally, I heard there's a free trial for this critically acclaimed MMO, and I was just like, if I'm going out of my way to like scour these Reddit forums and watch YouTube, reviews on a good RPG that I still have to pay for, why wouldn't I just do the free trial, which takes you through a lot of the MSQ with 14, right? So that was kind of like, all right, fine, I'll try it. And I think I had also gotten a new monitor, like a desktop
Oh,
monitor.
okay.
So I was like,
Yeah.
hey, it would be cool to play like one of these new games on this gaming
Mm,
monitor I just got. So it was kind of like a couple of things that actually got me to finally bite the bullet and play. And when I played, I basically didn't stop the MSQ until I finished. Like I
you're
binged it.
right.
Probably in record, I'm probably like one of the people who binged it like the fastest
Yeah. I
because
I
I
think I've
had the
seen.
time to.
I've seen. I feel like I can recall you saying that it took like 2 months or 3 months. It was very very
Mm-hmm.
fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, honestly, like it's pretty amazing because if you play through, ARR, Heaven's Word, Shadowbringers, and everything else, you'll know how much time and dedication that you have to, um, put into the MSQ, level everything up. it's a big journey, and then that doesn't even include everything else like the
Yeah.
raids, the
Mhm.
trials. So there's just
Mhm.
so much content out there. I yeah, it's a big journey.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what about favorite starting city? So you got Ul'dah, you got Limsa, you got Gridania. I feel
So
like each city state says something about the person.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. My actual starting city was Gridania, and I do have my very first time logging into 14 on a stream. I don't know what
Oh
channel it's
really?
on. It might be on Heather Just Create,
Oh,
but I have it somewhere. And I mean, talk about totally overwhelmed. Just like I was like, the last MMO I played was World of Warcraft in college, so this is
World
like 20 years ago. So I was
right,
just
yeah.
like totally like, what the heck? But I do remember like Gridania, like my brother was hyping up Gridania because it was, is this a forest and it's elves and
Yeah.
whatever, and I was like, oh, okay. Uh, the but when I signed up for Grand Company, it was the Immortal Flames. Like there was something about
Okay.
Raubon and Nanamo, and I was just like, if I am gonna pick, when the twins or Alpha Nova were like explaining the different city states and the grand companies and the flags and the crests and all that, I was like, there's something about the Immortal Flames, and so I probably have spent the most time in Ul'dah. Like that's the one where I feel nostalgic. I really like the nighttime Ul'dah song. Um,
Oh yeah, that's always so nice. Very
yeah,
relaxing.
but then, ever since HJP, I definitely have a soft spot now for Limsa. It was a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of where we met up. We took our holiday photos in Limsa. We,
Mhm. We just had a
the
summer
Aft
contest,
Castle.
clam
Yeah, like
contest.
before we got the house, we were like, that's where we would meet up. So yeah, it's hard to say what my favorite is.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you're a fan of everything. No, I totally get
Yeah,
it. Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, and for those that don't know, uh, our free company house is actually based in Limsa, so in the Mist,
yeah,
and we have tons of events over there. We always go over there to hang out, and it's been so much fun. And we're right next to the beach, so there's really nothing we can complain about. Um,
exactly.
yeah. So, all right, last part. Favorite
Yeah,
childhood video game, or any game that has been foundational to you as a gamer.
yeah, that's the easy one. That is a
Oh,
very
is it?
easy answer. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
It's Chrono Trigger. So that Chrono Trigger is the first RPG I remember playing. Like that, I remember. Uh, I think I got it as a Christmas present because I had a Super Nintendo, and I think my dad was just like, I don't know, this game, whatever. And I played it, and I did not understand it. I was like, what are these numbers? I don't get these numbers. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. There was a lot of reading. Um, and it wasn't until I took the box, I put the game in the box, and I shoved it in the hallway closet for I don't even know how long. And then I went over to a cousin's house, and I think they had the game. My cousins, they were, I had a lot of older guy cousins, so they were
Yeah.
totally like hardcore gamers. They had played,
Mm,
Final Fantasy, I think 3 at the time, so they knew how to play an RPG. And I
mm.
sat there with them as they started the beginning of Chrono Trigger. They were the ones who were able, or who explained to me, like, what are these numbers popping up on the enemies, and they explained like health points and
Uh-huh.
mana points or whatever it was, and then I was like, oh wow, I get it, and I just loved it. It was just, I feel like, especially compared to a game like 14, it's a lot more uh, primitive, obviously. But I was able to
Mm.
connect with the story on such a deep level that I was a Square Enix fan, like, from that day on. Like, I just
Yeah.
never, I played every single Final Fantasy, every, whatever RPG they came out with, I was
Uh-huh.
just hooked. And I don't even know
Hmm.
how old I was. Young, very young.
We were young. We were
Yeah.
young. I think we were both. we both grew up in the '90s, so
Yeah.
we remember that time. Um, yeah, super super fun, very charming age. And yeah, I had similar experiences. And it's funny. Like I remember watching one of your videos, and I think Tom was confused about the numbers like showing up. Like when you introduced him to Final Fantasy 14, he was like, "Why are those numbers, popping
Yeah.
up around the monsters?" So it's funny that everybody does go through that um,
Yeah.
experience as like a complete novice. But yeah, like you, I grew up with the Final Fantasy franchise, and like you, we're lifelong gamers, so
Hmm.
it's been great. I haven't played Chrono Trigger. I got to get to that. Like that's a
Yeah.
retro
Tom,
game. Yeah.
he played it like right before playing 14.
Oh, okay.
So
Did you like it?
I think he's played Chrono Trigger, and shoot, what is it? It's not Endwalker. Why am I saying Endwalker?
Oh,
The other Earthbound. E. Started with an E. Earthbound. Um,
oh, is that
Another like
PlayStation?
retro RPG. Hmm?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to play that too because it's PS1 game.
No. So Earthbound, I believe that classic Nintendo. It might be, yeah,
Oh, okay.
Earthbound. It's older.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Which
got
is
it,
why
got
I actually haven't played it because it was like too far back in time. Um,
it.
but it's like I've
Yeah.
heard I've heard like, that
Okay.
everybody, it's like one of those like everybody should play. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
really very old school.
I see. Oh, there might be a chance that people in Discord are answering. I haven't
Yep.
looked at
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Discord yet,
I'm
so
reading.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing everything now. Okay. Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, yeah, I've been really interested in the journey of HJP since the beginning. Like, I've been here since I would say like August last year. Like, we're new and we're young. But I remember being here when it was just kind of just a YouTube channel for just you, the streamer, and then it's evolved over time. And I think that has been something that's very interesting. But to I think appreciate where we are now, I wanted to see the path from which we came, and so
Yeah.
that I wanted to ask you about your personal history. Um, like from what I understand, it is a number of different things. You have uh, your your life before jumping into entrepreneurship, content creation, and then doing that, doing consulting, and then now where we are is you founded the nonprofit, and so it's all been a very interesting journey. And so my first question for you is, could you
Yeah.
share with us the inspiration and reasoning behind all of these different directions? Like, I feel like it deviates from a conventional style of work, and content creation at the
Totally.
time when you were doing it was an emerging, excuse me, was an
Yeah.
emerging industry. And so, what inspired that change? However many years ago.
Well, so the reason why I started a YouTube channel, um, so it was 2016. I wasn't even like into YouTube. I did make a YouTube channel in the first year it was created, 2006. And
Oh
that
wow.
I love because I have that badge on my YouTube channel. It says like, account created, uh, and it has the year and everything. So that like makes me really happy that I have that.
It's actually crazy.
So yeah, I could definitely say I'm one of the first YouTube
Yeah.
uh, users, right? Accounts. But I didn't, I used it the same way I think a lot of people use it when they create an account, is just to share, well, especially back then, to share videos with people you already know. So you're not
Mm,
trying to like build an audience or, grow a channel or whatever. You're just trying to show a video that you took on your digital camera to like your college friend. That's all it is,
yeah.
right? Uh, but in 2016, though, I was the communications manager over at a middle school, high school. So it was grade 6 through 12. And because of the nature of my job, I was using a lot of social media. I was using YouTube. I was using LinkedIn. Snapchat at the time was really big, and my
Oh
job
yeah.
was to basically, share all the happenings that were happening on campus. And we were a private school, so a lot of our funding came from donations, right? From the PTA, from parents donating to the school, stuff like that. So, technically I worked in the development office, which is like fundraising, basically a nonprofit talk. So that was actually, the private school was actually, a nonprofit. So, leading up to that, my career was in nonprofit the entire time I was an employee.
Mm.
But here specifically, the gap in tech was so insanely clear to me. You had this entire new generation of students, right, grades 6 through 12, that were born into a world with the internet. Then you had me,
Mm.
who was born in 1985. I vividly remember a world before the internet and after the
Yeah.
internet. And then there's the generation of parents that this is all new to them, right? So
Mm.
I was seeing this gap. I was like, the way that these kids navigate the world is so different from the world that these parents grew up in. And there's just this clash, right? There's this like, oh my God, I can't even tell you how many of you know, the outside speakers that would come to the school that was just like screen time and online bullying and all this negativity around being online, which I completely understand. But especially looking at the world in 2025, my whole career has been online, right? And so
Mm.
to tell these kids, hey, the internet is dangerous, don't get on it. I feel like you would be at a severe disadvantage as just a citizen in the world of 2025 if you were not digitally savvy, right? Like you need to
Mm.
know if what you're looking at is real. How do you know if someone asking you for your credit card payment is the real person, right? Like how is this legit? All those things, but also like how do you navigate, maybe don't go so far as to building a personal brand, but what the kids were asking me were things like, how do I set up a LinkedIn profile so I could use it as part of my college application? How do I do this to apply for a part-time job? I make skateboarding videos. I want to share them, right? And that's videography skills. That's, TikTok
Yeah.
didn't exist at the time, but that's a marketable skill set, right? That's
Mm.
creativity that can turn into a career. And I couldn't believe that a lot of what we were teaching the kids was just like, get off your phones. And I was like,
Yeah.
I work here. I have a work phone. Like
Mm.
I'm on Snapchat. Not only are the kids engaging with the content that I'm creating for the school, but so are the parents, right? And I just
Mm.
thought it was so funny that there was this gap. And so anyway, long story long, um, I I I actually came up with a curriculum and I partnered with the journalism teacher and I put together a digital literacy uh, curriculum for the kids about how to like how warning them of the dangers of digital media and the internet, but then also how do you use these tools to achieve meaningful goals, right? So I kind of already had this idea in my head of there's this weird generational gap between like a generation that's teaching the next one, but they lived in completely different worlds.
Yeah.
And then I, just couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I ended up quitting that job to start ShareSpark Media, which is the company I have now. And
Hmm.
I set off on a mission that was ShareSpark Media is the movement to educate and empower people to utilize digital media to achieve meaningful goals, right? So I just basically wanted to be the organization that helped people do what is like what everybody does now. But back then, it was such
Yes,
a
man.
new concept, right?
Right.
Yeah, like this idea of anybody could start a podcast, anybody could start a YouTube channel. You could share your passion, like your story exactly the way that it is can have a positive impact on somebody on the other side of the world. But
Hmm.
like you don't know that because you don't know how to do any of this, right?
Yeah.
So basically I started two YouTube channels. One was to document my journey in starting a business because I had no idea. I had no idea how the hell to do that. And I was like, this is about to be the craziest thing, like the craziest adventure of my life. Heck yeah, I'm going to document it. And then I started another YouTube channel, which was like the movement part, right? That was the tutorials, the education component of teaching people how to use digital media. I started out making videos like, what's a hashtag, or
Oh
one of my most popular videos on that channel is how to build a LinkedIn profile for high school students. And I can't tell you how many teachers reached out. Can I share your video in my class? Can I share your video to my students? And so that really taught me, like, I always had a hunch of these tools are awesome. But when I started
yeah.
getting reached out by all these teachers around the world, I was like, this is crazy. Like, I could not, how do you even do this? Right. Like, I knew no one else that was doing this. Everyone was kind of just like following the corporate ladder path, and I
Yeah.
was just like, I don't know how to explain it, but this is like really cool. And I'm going to try
Yeah.
to figure something
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's something I really like about Share Spark Media, like you and Tom like working together. Um, what's really neat is you guys are go getters. You come up with an idea and you just go for it. You might not have all the knowledge or the skills at the time, but you're learning as you go. And I've watched a good number of the vlogs, and it's just so cool to see all that history from I think it was 8 years ago,
Yeah.
as far back as it goes. And then you just have like this portfolio of all this work you've done, really really neat, and it's cool actually to know that you also had the background in nonprofits, and it's kind of makes sense why HJP went in the direction that it did. So that's super super cool. Um, what was the experience like? This is something that I think could be really interesting. What was the experience like to go from the relatively stable employee lifestyle to then go to then go into something more risky like entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
uh, and then something very new like content creation at the time.
That's such a good question. Um, so let's see. How do I explain this? I can spend a whole episode just talking about this, right? Um,
Oh,
one of the things
oh, I
that
think. Oh, sorry, Heather. I think the camera's on me.
my bad.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Can you hear
Okay.
me? We're good?
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. So, I can spend a whole episode just talking about this. I think like I didn't know what the word entrepreneur was. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I didn't know that people could start their own businesses. Like I knew of that,
Mm,
but I had not seen an example of that. And going through school, that was not something that was a path,
right.
was an
Hmm.
option, right? The only thing I knew was like, oh yeah, if you invent something, you could sell it. And I was like, I don't, what does that mean, right? So I never saw myself as, I always thought that the path that I would take was something that was already done. Like,
Mm,
my whole life, my parents were like, you have to be a doctor or a nurse or something in healthcare. The other option was like engineering, which no.
yeah.
And so I was just like, I'll just do whatever I'm supposed to do. And um, the reason why I'm not pre med is because I actually saw a C-section and fainted during my third year internship in college. And I was like, wow, so I can't do this because I can't do blood.
Can't handle
That I just
that.
can't do it. I
Yeah.
physically can't do it. And so basically I found myself just like, um, you know, jumping from part-time job to part-time job. Like there was no, like up
Mm,
until then I was like, okay, I get the internship at the hospital because I'm supposed to be pre-med. Now it's like I'm working at the library because I don't know, whatever, I need money, right? Um,
yeah.
and so like the first job I applied for was at a nonprofit that helped seniors. It basically provided resources to senior citizens and the elderly and their resources through families and stuff. And I could have done what I was expected to do in like 3 hours of the entire week. Like
Mm-hmm.
it moved so insanely slow. It was that place was like so antiquated,
Mm.
and it just
Stuck
frustrated
in their
me.
ways.
It,
Yeah.
it was just, it was so small and like very grassroots. But that's when I started to realize, like, oh wow, um, this ideas person who like comes up with an idea and just jumps on it and like, I will move
Right.
mountains, I will not sleep, I can crunch out a website in a day. It killed me to work there,
Yeah.
right? And that was basically my whole career. Was just like, it was like the other nonprofit organizations were the same thing. Like I made my first blog. I made a branded Instagram account that was like about, not about me, but about a movement. Like I had all these like side hustles and side projects that I did at work because no one, like, you know, I did everything I was supposed to do, and then every new thing I came up with, I was starting to get I was learning that, oh wow, people don't want to do new things because you make their job harder, right? Like they don't want
Right.
more work. They want to check in, they want to check out, and that's it. And I was like,
Mm.
what, you know, what if we did this? And what if we did this? And what if we had a newsletter? And what if we had an Instagram? And what if we had this? And it was just like, why would we do that? And I was like, well, because it helps further the mission. We can connect with more people. We could raise more money. It's like, no, we're just trying to chill, right? Um,
Right.
and so that's when I was like, um, it wasn't until I quit my final job that the person who actually connected me to the position, he was the president of their board of directors. He's the one who got me the job. And then when I left, he was like, really sad.
Mm.
And he said, you are an entrepreneur at heart. Everything you do has been a new idea, a new initiative, has been a breath of fresh air. You come in uh, like a revolution, like even the the president, or not the president, the principal of the school, like wrote me a recommendation letter. It was amazing. It was just like, and
Mm.
I was reading it and I was like, I didn't realize that's how it comes off, right? To me, I thought it came off like, here's this person who's like making, like, is a nuisance, kind of hard to deal with.
All her
But
crazy ideas. Yeah.
yeah, but then I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was like a good thing, and so
Mm.
when I finally found myself in a position where I could apply for another job, I know that's the right thing to do. That's the stability, that's the paycheck, that's the health insurance.
Yeah.
That's another recommendation letter. That's, not a gap in the resume. There's all the reasons I knew, but I was also like, I'm never gonna get the chance to try to build something on my own again. It's only gonna get harder, like. And I was thinking of my age too. I was like 30, so I was like, it's gonna be now or never, because I don't know. What if I start a family? Like, what? I'm not gonna
Yeah.
have. I might have more obligations. So
Right.
I forgot what your original question was, but
No, it's just, yeah.
so yeah,
What was the
basically,
inspiration
like,
behind it? Or actually, sorry, that
yeah,
was the other. Um, yeah. Like, yeah. What was the experience? Yeah, to go from relatively stable employed lifestyle to then one that was more risky. Entrepreneurship.
yeah.
Um,
So it was the biggest wake up call was like, oh my god, I can work. This is gonna sound crazy, but like, I can work as hard as I can, not as hard as the next person behind me working as hard as they can, right? Like if I can work at 100%, but the next hardest working person is working at 50%, then I'm expected to work at 50%. It's weird if you go above that, right? And for the first
yeah.
time, I was like, oh my god, I can just like work nonstop. Like it was just, I finally
Around
saw,
the clock.
like, yeah, and like, I don't, obviously I learned burnout, that's not
Yeah.
sustainable. I
Mhm.
learned to put together a routine, and you know I had to kind of learn those things on my own. But also, it was the first time where I felt like I saw my true potential. You know, I was like, dang,
Mm.
I can, like, no one could have told me to come up with these ideas, right? And the fact that no one is holding me back, I could just go, was just like the best feeling ever. Now, on the other side of that, like while I'm feeling the
Yeah.
hunch being validated, like, oh my God, this is totally what I'm meant to be doing. I have my parents like I had to stop talking to them because they were like, you need to get a job. We're worried about you. Like, where the hell is this going to lead? You have no path, you know. Oh my God, I'll never forget. I spent Christmas of 2016 completely alone at a co-working space because I went home and my dad was like, you are behind. You are behind. Your younger cousins are, you know,
Oh wow.
super successful at their nursing careers or whatever. They're starting families, they're getting married. You're behind, you know? And I was like,
Mm.
I already struggle with self doubt. I don't need somebody else like
Right.
telling me
Yeah.
that, you know? And I was like,
Yeah, of course.
I just kept saying, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I also don't think it's unreasonable. I'm not dumb, you know? It's like, I
Yeah.
know I'm not, I don't know. I didn't believe it would fail, right? Like if I was looking
Mm.
at um, evidence of success and failure, like I just was not convinced it was time to walk away, right? And I
Right.
was like, you know what? This is the only time that I'm going to be able to try, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, um,
Gotcha. Yeah.
has it been super, you know, stressful? And there's a lot of the structure and the stability of a stable paycheck. You know, like health
Mm.
insurance is sucks, right? Like
Yeah. Right.
as a solopreneur, when you're paying for your
Yeah.
own insurance, it sucks. There's a lot
Mm.
of things like, you know, Tom and I are always like, especially in the summers, YouTube takes a dip, right? And it is
Oh,
scary
interesting.
because those dips can be real dippy, you know, and it's
Oh,
like we start to ask ourselves, okay,
yeah. Interesting.
how long can we continue to do this, right? But we always
Hmm.
also fall back on if ish were to hit the fan. Well, we are both hireable. You know, like we Tom can go back to teaching, I can get a marketing job, content creator job, whatever kind of similar job any like I'm not worried that we would be without options, you know? So
Mm.
as until um like you know, it's never gotten to the point where I'm like, oh my God, like I got to start job hunting or whatever. But it's always because there's, I don't know, something
Yeah.
happens that kind of shifts things. So, anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Super long story
No.
long.
No. 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 That makes sense. No. And no. I appreciate that. It's. I think it's really helpful when it's like to know about your origin, your backstory. Um, it really just explains so much of why we went in the direction that we did. Um, yeah, and so I really love that. Makes me curious, like in addition to everything you said, was there this feeling of like it just isn't a good fit? Like whether it's lifestyle, the way everybody did things. Uh, I understand. Like we've had several conversations now about how you work, and I get the impression that you um, will like to tackle different things at the same time, or like in your own way, and that something isn't really aligned with how 9 to 5s can be. Like certain routines in your day to day life as an employee, did it not work for you? Like yeah, but then it's like, did you also just want to have more control over your your impact? Because I know impact is very important to you. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you have
Honestly,
anything to say
like,
about
okay, let me give you an example.
that.
Here's an example, okay? So, one of the jobs I had was at a nonprofit, uh, and it was a center for volunteers. So if you wanted to volunteer and get involved in your community, you would call us and we would match you based on your preferences with a local nonprofit that had a volunteering opportunity that matched your interests and your schedule and stuff like that. I was specifically in charge of the youth programs. So I worked with all of the local, high school students and middle school students, and I had like 300 nonprofits in the area to basically do those matches, right? And I think this is very typical. Uh, a lot of your credit, like as part of your high school credit, you have to go do community service, right? It's very common.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a lot. It was a lot of it was a big job. And one of the ideas I came up with, I think about this all the time, was doing a weekly newsletter, right? And I was like, kids are gonna wait until the last minute, like 2 weeks before their community service is due. What if we did a weekly newsletter where we put like, hey, there's a beach cleanup happening this Saturday. If you happen to be free, grab your friends and go clean up the beach, and then you can hang out after and whatever. And I was like, until if they don't see it, they don't even know it's an option. So let's, we take pictures of the kids, and then that can like hype up the upcoming events. It sounds basic when I explain it in 2025, right? Back then, it was obviously it wasn't a thing because I'm the one who came up with the idea. And it just wasn't a thing in general, right? Like newsletters from companies, brands, organizations, like everyone was still kind of figuring out email marketing. Social media marketing was not a thing, right? So you started with email, you started with your website, and then you went from there, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a newsletter just for the students. And I knew it was just for the students, so I wrote it like it was for the students. And the president of the board at the time was the chief editor at the biggest newspaper in the area. Okay, like, I don't know, whatever, editor-in-chief of this ginormous local newspaper. And I had several issues go out, very successful, great feedback, obviously, which is why I continue doing it. But see, this is, again, one of those things that my boss was like, why are you doing this? We don't have to do this. We've existed this long without it, blah, blah, blah. And then here comes, like, I was called into the office, and it was the executive director, my boss, and the president of the board. And they both sat me down, and they said, you have to have your newsletters proofed by the president because of her experience as a newspaper editor, and we have to write it as if it were a newspaper because it's professional. It represents our organization. It needs to be polished. It needs to be grammatically correct, and blah blah blah. And I was like, we're talking to high school kids. You can't use newspaper. Like I just was like, I remember staring at them like, so you want to go back and forth arguing about whether the comma goes here or not. You want to put all that time into that kind of editing for this weekly newsletter for the rest of our lives? I was just like, the fact that the focus from the entire organization, both leaders, right, from the board standpoint and from the executive director, they're telling me I'm wrong. And I was like, we are wasting. I was just like, I can't believe that you're not focusing on the impact of the newsletter. How, look at the percentage of volunteering hours. Have they increased since this newsletter came out? Are we working with more nonprofit organizations? Are we generating excitement? Has the email open rate increased? We're not looking at that. We're looking at, is this paragraph grammatically correct? And that's when I was like, I feel like my whole working career was like people putting in a lot of time and effort into the things that I felt didn't matter. Like I know to her, I understand where they're coming from, but I'm like, Zoom, especially if you fast forward to now, it's like, oh my God, like we have Gen Z videos going viral because they're ridiculous, but they're memorable, right? Like that's how you talk. You speak the same language as the people that you're trying to reach, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, I just felt like I was kind of, it was just like always an uphill battle at every organization that I worked. And I think a big part of that was because it was nonprofit. It's just like innovation in nonprofit was so It's just like,
Yeah.
how do you keep the doors open, right? Like, how do you, and I understand, right? Like, you have a budget, you have an annual budget, and then really it's like you look at all your services that you provide. Are you providing, the best services that you can? And then are you fundraising enough to make sure those services exist? That's it.
Yeah.
And there was no room for innovation, new ideas, different takes. It was all a threat to um, how they had been doing things for decades and decades, which I, again, totally understand. But that's why when I had the chance to do it my way, I was like, I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah. And
Totally.
which totally makes sense. I see why you've decided to go like an entirely different direction. That's so cool to know. Like I really love that. That's so great. Um, okay, so now that brings us to, of course, HJP. We I think recently we got the federal uh, designation or status of 501c3 nonprofit
Yes.
organization. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal, and
Huge.
I
Yeah.
wanted to ask some things about it. Um, so I think the first thing that I'm curious about is vision. Like uh, it's something that I think, and I guess maybe let me know if it's evolved over time. When it began to where it is now, but yeah, we can get back to that. But my first question is, something I've been curious as a member and also somebody who enjoys creative work. How do your visions and ideas for HJP come to you or manifest? What moves you into action, and what does that process look like?
Honestly, I have no idea, because like you can't force good ideas, because if you could, then you would all the time,
Hmm.
right? So that's the tricky part. Like, one of the things that I have learned being my own boss for the last decade is like making sure that I uh, am inspired by multiple sources of things, right? Like, I cannot just be playing Final Fantasy 14 in HJP. That would be a bad thing, right? I need to go read books. I need to go watch YouTube videos. I need to go to like leadership events, networking events. I need to talk to
Hmm.
other, because when I'm out of my industry, my niche, my space, that's when I start connecting dots. Like, then I see the gap of what's missing in my, in my sphere, right?
Yeah.
But like listening to podcasts, talking to other people, um, that's really uh where, you know,
The ideas
like
come
coming
from.
up with the idea for the nonprofit, I'll never forget. So thinking about it now, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that it happened. That I would come up with the idea of nonprofit. I feel like that was just kind of inevitable.
Hmm.
But when it finally clicked, Tom and I had just gotten back from a leadership development program that we recently graduated from. It was a 10-month program.
Oh, congrats.
Um, yeah, thank you. That was really fun. It was it was an incredible experience. I learned so much. We could talk about it at some point, maybe
Yeah.
on another episode. But like,
Hmm.
we had been at it was actually nonprofit day. So it's a 10-month program, and each we met once a month, and each day had a different theme. And we had like energy and sustainability. We had communications and marketing day. We had education, talking about the education system in our local area and stuff like that. And then there was nonprofit day. And specifically, we heard from 16 nonprofits that whole day. It was a deluge of information. But I was hearing from organizations that, were working on like uh, animals and animal welfare to, um, you know, foster kids and at risk youth to, uh, hospitals and healthcare and wellness
Mm.
organizations to just all kind, the food bank, like all kinds of, the rescue mission, all kinds of nonprofit organizations. And we did a tour with uh, one of the biggest hospitals here in the area, that is a nonprofit. So, if you are a hospital providing this, you have to provide top-notch healthcare. It doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit or not. If you're a hospital, you provide the best
Yeah.
patient care that you can. But you are a nonprofit, right? So you have to provide competitive wages to your staff, to your doctors, to your nurses. Otherwise, no one's gonna work for you, right?
Yeah.
And then just here, I got a chance to talk to the major gifts officer. Their minimum donation is $300,000 for their major gifts, right? So like, obviously you could donate $5, but like to get
Right.
into like where your name goes on the wall and stuff is $300,000.
Wow.
And before that, he did the major gifts donations at USC. And I
Mm.
was kind of, I had asked him, like, what's the difference in healthcare or this region versus that region, and working with college alumni, universities, da da da. So I had just like, I came home with like all this info. And then I sat down here and, I was catching up on HJP stuff, and I was like, oh my God, it's a nonprofit. It's just a nonprofit. It would make sense. And it was just like, I just was like, oh my God, if it were a nonprofit, then we could do this, 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 this. It would open up this, and here's why. And just like, I came
Mm.
out of my office in full bawl, like bawling, total
Okay.
crying. And Tom was like,
To
who
top.
died? And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I figured it out. I feel like I cracked this like missing piece. And
Right.
I kind of just felt like, everything had led up to this. And I don't know, it just like made sense. Like all of a sudden it was just like click, boom. And I just
Mhm.
like saw it. I knew it would be hard. And to this day, I haven't told my parents because, when they hear nonprofit, they're like, no money. So I didn't even tell them about it. But I was just like, so anyway, to answer your
Yeah.
question, I don't know. I can't say like how somebody comes up with ideas, right? Like I think any artist, any creative person, like if you could flip the switch on, you would have it on always, right? And
Yeah.
so it really is kind of just about making sure that you are open to the signals, right? Like if you're taking in a bunch of different kinds of information, right? Like talking to people, firsthand accounts, going behind the scenes,
Hmm.
taking classes, online course, whatever it is, reading books,
All those
like
things help.
yeah, like you're just going to process that information in a way that only you can. And
I
I feel
see.
like that's just kind of what happened. So,
That's really really cool. And what you said earlier made me laugh because I was actually talking to some friends in the in the fintech space, and what's funny is the moment I said nonprofit, they said the exact same thing. So it's like, oh, you're not trying to make money, and it's like then you feel like you're backpedaling and you're trying to explain just no, this is more about impact, this is more about everything else, and it's kind of like you're talking a different language, but very funny. um, Something I'm now that we've brought up Tom, I'm interested in how do you think your process differs from Tom? He's the other half of the team, so I'd actually be interested to think or to hear what your thoughts are on that.
so Tom and we have a lot fundamentally in common, right? Like values, our approach of, one thing that we really do have in common is like, whatever we do it to the best of our ability, even if other people are telling us that's like useless, or why would you do that? What's the point? Or we've been doing it this way for decades, so we should do it that way. When I first met Tom, it was for Share Spark Media, right? Is because I
Mm.
started my movement to educate and empower people to utilize digital media to achieve meaningful goals. He had the physical version of that, right? Like I had my YouTube channel, but he had a broadcast studio. He had a curriculum that was UC approved. He had it was a 4-year curriculum, freshman all the way to senior year. And it covered everything: audio, video, podcast, broadcast,
Hmm.
how to do lighting, how to work up a teleprompter, how do you storyboard, all those things. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so, here is somebody who created a curriculum from scratch, and he's also born in 1985. So it's like you have that very unique understanding of like, this is what the world before the internet was and after.
Hmm.
Um, and so like when we met and I walked into his studio, I was like, he built that whole thing on his own time. The school, obviously, the school didn't tell him to do it. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, maybe that's not obvious, but it's like his. If you saw his program, it would be like, I can't believe that this isn't an idea that the school would have came up with. But that's how it was, right? With these things, with this kind of digital media technology, even AI, which I won't get into, uh, it's hard to kind of catch up and be the person that's going to be the educational resource on that. But Tom did
Yeah.
that, right? He was an entrepreneur in his own little section of the school. And so seeing his studio, like, learning about all the nights and weekends he had to put to build that whole thing, to really make it an experience that the kids get excited about, right? Because if the kids are excited about it, they'll learn anything, right? Like,
Hmm.
they'll you make it so that the environment is a creative one. So regardless of whether you think you're creative or not, you can't help but go in there and want to make a podcast, right? And he
Yeah.
built that. So we have a lot of that in common. Our
Okay.
approach, though, also
Uh-huh.
fundamentally different. So one of the things that like kind of was Tom and I don't really argue. We have very good communication. But one of the things early on in our relationship that was kind of a point of contention was like, I was trying to get him to quit forever. I can't even tell you. I was just like, you need to quit. You need to do YouTube full time.
Uh-huh.
Imagine instead of teaching, 200, 300 students, you could teach the world, and da da da.
Yeah.
And like, you could work on your own time, and you don't have to do active shooter drills, and you don't have to do,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know, these random admin meetings that are kind of
Hmm.
not related to your subject matter, like you wouldn't have to
Yeah.
deal with public education miscellaneous stuff, right? Which actually
Yeah. All
takes
the
up a
admin
lot
stuff,
of.
all that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And he was just like very uh very attached to that stability of,
Mm.
there is a stable paycheck. There's just a stable paycheck. There's
Yeah.
health insurance,
Benefits. Yeah.
Yep. And
Right.
so I honestly, and I think Tom can agree with this, I don't think he would have quit if not for the pandemic. It was gonna take. He was working 2 jobs, right? Like, his YouTube channel was already making more money than he was as a teacher. Didn't matter, right? Like,
Yeah.
because it was like YouTube can disappear at any time, which is true. That's still true. Uh, but it wasn't until the teaching, like the experience of being a teacher, fundamentally changed from what he knew. Right? He's teaching on Zoom. Like, there's no hands on. There's no in person. Uh,
Hmm.
like, it's just not what he signed up for. And then that's kind of what, that's when he was like, okay, well, YouTube is kind of making more money, and technically it is making more money because he gets paid every month, whereas a teacher, you don't get paid during the summer months, right? Like, you can,
Oh, right.
yeah, so like you only get the 10-month salary. So
Yeah.
so basically all that to say, like, Tom is a very practical, uh
Mm.
step by step, what's the plan B? Let's make sure we have
Mm.
a plan. Let's make
Hmm.
sure that, we've really thought this through. Whereas me, I quit my job. I had no plan, nothing. I was like, and when I had 6 months of savings, and when I ran out of savings, I became a Postmates driver, which is basically like Uber Eats, DoorDash.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
That's what I did. So I was just like, I will figure it out. I don't know what. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. That's me. Tom is not that.
I see.
It's like, I need to know what happens. I need to know what the backup plans happens in case. But I think
Right.
that's why we work so well together, because like I'm I'm
Yeah,
the dreamer. I'm the one who'll come up with the, YouTube could be a job. And I'm not, and I actually mean that. But he's like, okay, he's got the budget sheets, like how much money we're making per month and like what are the expenses and all that. So, yeah.
I see. Yeah, no, that's very interesting, and I think you guys really balance each other out in that way, which is really really interesting, and very cool. I like that a lot. For those that don't know, Heather, Tom, me, Tin, a whole bunch of HJP people. Outside of 14, we also play a game called Repo, and Tom is always the last man standing, and Heather is the first person to die,
Yep.
or one of the first. Like
Yep.
that's to say, the point of that is he's a very cautious player, and
Mm-hmm.
he's came in clutch many times. But it's interesting to know that it took a real life umbral calamity for him
Yeah.
to take that leap, you know,
Yeah.
from from his day job. So that's really really cool. Um, okay, so my next question is, what is your current vision for HJP? Uh, the evolution has been very interesting. You began as a streamer, gaming channel. You then evolved this to an active, passionate gaming community around your content. And then it became this digital slash online community center with member led events and things like Operation Rising Tide, which was initiative. It was an initiative within our free company, and then you even have like community goals that you started to introduce within HJP around impact. You brought up things like leadership development, self confidence, self worth, mental health and connection, purpose and belonging, etc. And now we've transitioned to having everything above, but now we're adding on the 501c3 nonprofit organization. It's an
Yeah.
interesting journey. So, what is the current vision, and where do you think we go from here?
That's such a good question. Um, so it, you know, how I came up with the vision of HJP, why those dots connected, like, what am I trying to do at the end of the day? All of that I could talk about forever, right? Because it is kind of like I'd have to go back to explain like this is why I think this is important because of this, right? And this and like all the dots.
Hmm.
Um when I went to Anime Expo just 2 days ago, I did have the
Yeah.
thought for a split second of I told Tom, I was like, look how passionate these people are. They are doing all the things that I said that I'm setting out to do with HJP. There's creativity here, there's leadership here,
Yeah.
there's meaningful
Arts down.
connection. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're
Connect.
checking all the boxes, right? And that's not just this was happening on all the 14 stuff, but like just the whole 100,000 people expo in general. So I'm not gonna lie, I had the thought, I was like, what am I doing that is different? What am I trying to do that isn't already being done? You know?
Mm.
And Tom was like, no, let me slap that out of you. The reason why HJP should continue to exist is because Anime Expo is a 4-day thing, right? But it's the in between. It's the other 360 days of the year where all these people fly home, right? And they don't have this celebration of creativity and nerdiness and all these things in their day to day, right? You have to wait until something like this happens, which is awesome. But it's that day to day. It's the, hey, it's Tuesday. I've had a long day at work. And you don't have to call someone and make plans that never come to fruition because everyone's so busy and they have families and stuff. You could just log into Discord and boom, there's people right there. You
Mm.
can, jump into an event that you're leading or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, play a game with somebody or write lore or whatever. And that is accessible always 24/7. That's the beauty of being an online digital community center is that, eventually what I would love is that there's people on here all the time. It's not just, US based. Like, yes, we are a global community, but most of our
Yeah.
events are during like US times, right? Eventually I
Yeah.
want it to be that like every time zone has stuff going on simultaneously. And so that like you have that community, right? Where it's just a place where I'm not necessarily trying to build friendships, right? I don't think that's the purpose of this place, but that sense of community, this space where the purpose is to have fun. And when you are having fun, right? In this specific way of video games, right? All the other stuff just happens, right? The
Yeah.
personal growth, the leadership, all of that is just like
Connections.
when you
Yeah.
have the structure, yeah, it's going to happen no matter what. And the reason why I'm just so passionate about it today, right? June 2025 is like I feel like the content creator space, the digital media space is in a transition, right? It's a very fast moving, volatile space, but especially now, I think, especially with AI, we're going to see a lot of content that is kind of just meh, right? It's not going
Mm.
to inspire. It's not necessarily going to make you learn something about another human being, right? Like, I think that kind of real, genuine content is going to get harder and harder to access. But these communities, these places where we embrace diversity, we celebrate it, anybody from anywhere can come here, play a game, and just have fun. Like,
Yeah.
I believe that this thing should exist today, right? Like, you take all the benefits, all the good things about these tools, right? That the same things I saw when the students back in 2016 were like, how do I use LinkedIn to like apply for college or whatever? All the good things, right, of these tools, but in this context of video games and nerdiness, and like these
Hmm.
kinds of fandoms, um, yeah, like that's just what brings us together,
Yeah.
and anybody can have access to that. I've seen the impact it's had on me, on Tom, and that's enough for me,
So many
right?
of us. Yeah.
But on top of that, everybody else, exactly, right? Like
Hmm.
everybody else is just like, even even if it is just this, that's enough, right? Like it's already super impactful. Of course, plans, right? Ideas and plans and all that, but you know, to me, it's a worthwhile thing, right? It goes back
Mm.
to that thing of like, this is something that I feel like I'm uniquely equipped to build, and it matters. And sometimes I feel like I'm sitting in that same meeting room where I had the executive director and the president telling me like, why aren't you doing it the way that we think you should be doing it? And I sometimes I feel like I sound crazy, right? Like, yeah, nonprofit and video games and digital community center, and to a lot of
It's new.
people, it's like it makes sense, but to some people, it's just like, what are you doing? And like,
Yeah.
why? And even me, I can hear my own self doubt
Yeah.
creeping in, but I just, I don't know, I just feel like it's so important now more than ever to
Mm.
start carving out this space, because I just feel like it's going to get louder and louder. I just feel like it's going to be louder and louder outside of this, right? And I just want there to be a place where, hey, I'm not expecting everyone to be best friends here. That's not the purpose of that. Friendships will happen, relationships will happen, great.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not, you know, everyone in the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA or whatever, they don't know each other, like you don't have to know everybody, but that place exists for personal empowerment, whatever, well, whatever their mission is. That's my
Yeah.
vision with HJP in a
Yeah. I think
nutshell.
that's great. Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. And the thing with the self doubt. I think that's the reason why, or at least why I speculate why it might be the case, is because you're marrying gaming and then nonprofit together. These two things may seem completely different, but it's the case where this is something new. We're the first movers here, and it's just interesting. But I don't know. I like when I think of, if we were to liken ourselves to um, another type of nonprofit, I think of like hockey. basketball, youth theater. I think what we're doing here is you're kind of like gathering a bunch of different players doing all sorts of different things, all sorts of different ambitions, skill levels, what have you. But we're all organizing to do very particular things. We're trying to achieve certain things together. Um, and what can be just like a ragtag group of individuals, doing whatever stuff, activity. No, we're all working together. We're building meaningful relationships with one another. I think of like a basketball team, or a group of young students trying to put up a play. We're like in the gaming, in HJP specifically, we're trying to beat the ultimate raid, and we're gathering up. We're fighting together. I think it's very similar if you can, take that leap and make the connection. So, I think it's very very interesting, and very exciting. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have more questions, and I'm willing to keep going. Uh, I want to do a check in though with you, see how you're doing. Because we
Yeah,
started a little late, but I mean, I still
I'm
have
good.
things on, like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay, cool, cool.
let's keep going.
Um, so let's see. My next question: how to impact.
Yeah.
Um, I think I actually asked this question already. I asked, why is impact so important to you? Like, I think in all the interactions that I've had with you, you okay? So you don't strike me as the sort of person that chases. I think like the more common incentives, like clout, fame, status, profit above everything else. Um, what comes
Honestly,
to mind? Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like my life would be so much simpler if I were motivated by those things. Like it would
I've
just
read
be,
both. I've read
what did you
both of
say?
you, Tom, and your ethics page, and
Yeah.
yeah, if money was a top priority, you guys would not have something that's so tough for sponsors.
Right. We're
Yeah,
shooting ourselves in the foot, basically. And
right.
I can't tell you like how much feedback Tom got about that ethics page at first. About like you're
Hmm.
making why would you do this? Like why would you make yourself um, brand unfriendly? But
Hmm.
I I think I think for us, regarding that, it's like this every single day that I choose to do this is a choice, right? I voluntarily choose to do this. So you will never see me complain. I'm never going to complain about the space that I choose to work in, right?
Hmm.
Like if I'm never going to blame algorithms, I'm never going to blame sponsors, I'm never going to blame the audience or the trends or whatever cuz it's like I I don't have to do this. I could just leave, and that's uh I feel like true for anyone in this space, and for us it's like, well, if we're gonna do it, then we want to do it the way that we want to do it, even if it's not the way that you're supposed to do it or that's the way that is being done or whatever.
Mm.
And so that is a lot of the times doing something new and different. And again, it goes, sometimes you just sound crazy. It's like why. It's a lot of why. But to me, like if you ask me what keeps me up at 3 in the morning, it is the impact. Like that's the thing I'm thinking about is like,
Yeah.
you know, what if we did this because it would make it more fun, or I can, you know, I have so many ideas. I hesitate to share them because now it's like, okay, well, so where is it, right? I don't want like, I don't want to
Yeah, yeah, I
let
gotcha.
anyone down, right? But like,
Yeah, yeah.
I came up with this
Mhm.
idea of doing like a community video, right? So I would get everyone in HJP to, something that's like a this or that thing, like which Scion uh, would you take to, um, on a backpacking trip or something, and you had to pick one, or where is a good first date idea in
Mm.
Eorzea, right? And you just everyone in HJP, like get everyone's character in front of the free company house and just like record everybody and do a compilation video, and that would be like super fun, right? And I feel like that's like those kinds of ideas are fun, right? Like I feel like it would be fun to watch, it'd be fun to make, it would be a very, fun example of just like it's goofy, it's silly, but it's like I don't know, it's just fun. It's like something that we can all enjoy and share that with other people.
Mm.
Um and those are those kinds of experiences, right? Like even when I edit the repo videos, I have so much fun. Like I have to like snap myself out of just watching it because I have so much fun reliving it. And
Mm.
even just that impact on me, I'm like, if this is happening to me, somebody else is having that same impact, right? Like Gma's watching the repo streams and is laughing
Yeah, yeah.
like crazy. Like
Right, right.
that to me is like if we could just spread a little bit more joy, you know, a little bit more happiness, um, and then of course on top of that, inspire somebody to do something that they haven't done before, or
Hmm.
to try something new, or to lead an event, or to push themselves out of their comfort zone. Yes, like
Yeah.
I just feel like that is a worthwhile thing. I just think that's like I don't know. It's like it's fun. It's fun. So
Yeah.
like in terms of impact, I can't even tell you. Like throughout this journey, I have done all the here's how you make money online paths. I've done the paid masterminds. I've done consulting, private consulting. I've done online courses. I've done even getting paid to teach in person. You know, Patreon. I've done it all, but I don't know. The thing that
It's
really
just not
sticks out to
important
me.
anymore.
What'd you say?
It's just not as important anymore as much as impact. All those other things.
I just didn't like the I don't know how to explain it. The tactics seemed kind of weird to me. I don't. It's gonna be hard for me to explain. So, like, for example, online courses aren't as common anymore. But a few years ago, everyone had an online course, right? And it was like
Hmm.
the way that you design your uh, checkout page, right? When someone's learning about your course and they go through the whole journey of like reading the first part and then the testimonials and the videos and there is so much strategy that goes into, you know, like how big to make this font for this specific sentence, and then like you tell a story of like psychologically this is how you get somebody to buy your thing, right? And I was
Oh
just like,
wow.
I'm not really interested in saying I got somebody to buy a thing. I am more interested in like what is the channel that somebody ends up making that they're passionate about, right? Like what video do they end up making? What like
Yeah.
the end goal, right? And
Mm.
especially when it was like online courses, so much of it was like passive income. Just have your online course and people buy it
Yeah.
overnight and you don't even have to do anything. And I'm like, yeah, but that
Mhm.
sucks, right? Like I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
the one-on-one. I was like I don't know, it just felt empty, right? And for HJP, it's so organic. The feedback is instantaneous, right? Like immediately I can see somebody reacting to a Discord comment or an HJP announcement, or, you know, I just see things working immediately. I see the impact immediately. And those are the kinds of things that like uh excite me. It's
Yeah.
like it it makes it I don't know, it comes down to fun, but like the other stuff was just really not fun to me. Again, I think it is those like those things that no diss to what is, what motivates other people, but it's just not what
Yeah.
motivates me. Like you'll
Yeah.
never, I'll never be the person that's like, pay $20,000 to do this sponsor for a company you don't care about. No,
Yeah.
I just don't care. I
Mhm.
just to say I did. I don't know. Like it's just
Yeah.
I would rather
Make,
do something like this. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
No, it totally makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, no, it I mean, this is what we've seen from you as you've led. HJP, and you see it in both of you, both you and Tom. You guys are real genuine people, and impact is so important. It's not about making money. I think it's about having a positive impact on others, creating meaningful connections, and I mean, it's just been great. And we live that every day. And I'm very active in the community, so I too also see I see how much our members really enjoy being here, and I'm pretty similar to you, where that holds a lot of value for me as well. Um,
Yeah.
so uh, okay, so I want to segue us into personal growth. Um,
Yeah.
I think we know your history. We understand what motivates you, and I think though that being a founder and now serving as the executive director for HJP, I think that's quite the departure from what you've previously done. So my question is, what is your current headspace? I think a while back, HJP was approved as a nonprofit organization in the state of California, but now we're
Yeah.
approved as an official 501c3 nonprofit. How are you feeling about this journey we've been on for the past 9+ months? Any thoughts? What has been the experience for you?
That is a
That's a lot of
really good
questions I could
question.
repeat. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like four different questions.
Yeah. Uh, so that's a really good question. Obviously, with my 40th birthday just passing, um, you know, I love where my birthday is because it is the exact halfway point between like in the year. So New Year's, I always have like, okay, you reflect, you think about your goals for the following year. I do the same thing like every 6 months because my birthday is July 2nd. So
Mm,
of course, and especially entering, finishing a new decade and then entering a new one, I have been thinking a lot about like, what do I have to say for the last 10 years of my life? Where do I want to go for the next 10? And I could not be more excited and proud for getting HJP to where it is. There's definitely points where I feel again insane, right? Like sometimes I feel
yeah.
um like it's sometimes it's hard for me to put the feeling into words, but I feel like this is the right thing. Like this is the thing that I should be doing and this matters and this is important and I'm proud of it.
Mhm.
But there are times where I have felt like am I uh forcing people to do something that they did not sign up for, right? Like that's a real concern. I have that concern like all the time, which is like
Yeah.
people signed up for a Final Fantasy 14 community. They signed up for a Discord server. They want to LFG. They want to party up. They want to do
Yeah.
raids together and roulettes and whatever. And that's it. What am I doing? Right? Like, who am I to insert this noble goal that I just so happen to, because of who I am, see? Right? But like, that's cool, but do you need it, right? Like we're kind of already
Mm,
doing the thing. Why add in this other very
yeah.
complicated factor that is kind of confusing, So that's like a genuine concern of mine. I think about it a lot.
Okay.
But then when I think about it, I'll see something else that reminds me of like in HJP I might have that concern. I might see like, uh we just want to do, you know, I don't know, Blue Mage, or we want to do a fashion show or a housing
Mm,
tour or whatever. Like those are all awesome, right? And am I detracting from that? Am I telling other people am I telling the people who are here that like, like but there's this other thing, right?
yeah.
That's how I feel in HJP sometimes. Um when I step out of HJP. when I go into content creator space, digital media space, even just being an American in 2025, and I'm just scrolling through my feed and I just see normal communications. I see the news. I see like how people are interacting. You know, I kind of take that same analytical eye I've always had when it comes to me connecting these dots with things, right? That's when I'm like, oh God, we need this now more than ever. Like, you know, even if there is, even if I do feel that friction or tension, which I feel like is coming from somewhere, like I think that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, right, like outside of HJP, I feel like I want this to be an example of a productive, healthy community for adults that can connect over something that is important to them. Period. Right? Like our thing is just happens to be video games, right? But it
Yeah.
could be hockey, insert activity here, right? I just the uphill battle is that I have not seen it done for video games, and I think like that is going to be an uphill battle from the start, because games are just it's indulgent, it's recreational, it's, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of convincing to people who are not gamers of like why.
Yeah. Yeah. Non-gamers are hard to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but that's also a battle I'm willing to fight, right? Because I'm a
Mhm.
perfect example of like lifelong gamer. I, you know, you can't say that I'm just like my brain is melting in my mom's basement or whatever it is,
Right.
right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's
Whatever
obviously not
stigma.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a battle I'm willing to fight, but it's like, you know, I think that there's a lot I feel about HJP. I feel you know, I'm really proud of the foundation and the momentum and like
Hmm.
everything that we've done so far, and it really is kind of incredible, right? It's just it's crazy how far it has come, right? Like I didn't know any
Hasn't
of
even
you
been a full year
guys.
yet.
I didn't know any of you guys, and we like, you know, that's just on the personal level, right? I feel like when you said that Mordak was at Anime Expo, Tom and I died, right? Because the semi bot was red. It was just like that is such a specific inside joke, and it's so
Right.
hilarious.
Right.
Um, I would not
Yeah.
have had I would not have had that. I would not have understood what that meant, right? So that's
Right.
like, and that's just me, you know, again as a member of HJP, but just knowing that we can create these types of experiences like ongoing for, you know, anybody who wants to experience that. Um, like I think having more of these casual experiences, um, where, you know, you don't have to pay a lot of money, you don't need to book a lot of time or anything, you don't, you know, you have easy access, you can log on anytime. I think that's like, I think having this positive space that people have access to, where it's fun, it's positive, you're connecting with like, you know, like-minded people, there's a purpose,
Yeah.
there's diversity. um, this is just something I want people to have access to. And I am very, very proud of the foundation that we've built, because it's not, you know, I think before I could have convinced my own self-doubt of like, this is just a hunch. You're the only one who sees this, you know, like, does it actually matter? And I could have talked myself into a spiral of like, okay, I'm going to walk away. And I have, right? Like, admittedly, that's just how my brain works. I have my ups and
Yeah.
downs, right? And so I
Yeah. Yeah. You have
have,
to take breaks.
huh? Yeah, right. But
Yeah. You have to
then
take breaks.
the unique thing, the thing that's different about anything else that I've done is like I'm doing it with other people. So
Hmm.
before I could have set myself into a spiral, and then you just see me disappear, right? You can go back to my YouTube channel and see gaps of just like I stopped uploading, right? Here I can't, because you're
Mm.
all still here, right? And that is a good um, feedback loop of like, even if I'm feeling like it doesn't matter, look at all these people showing up. There's
Yeah.
multiple voice chats going on. There
Yeah.
is a free company where people are logging in every day. Our event calendar had what, 12 events in it before the month even started. Like
Yeah. It was
it's
crazy.
like
There's just so much. Yeah.
the structure is there, people believe in it. And if you're
Hmm.
asking me, like, is there a minimum viable product? 1000%. right? It's just a matter of like, where do we go and how from here, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I'm really excited about this, because I'll tell you what I'm thinking as we're going through it. Uh, I don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
but we're also, I mean, I know I'm gonna say Sarilla. So, and you know this, like, we are very lucky with the
Both
people in
works.
HJP. Yeah,
Yeah.
like everyone here is so passionate, so excited, so, um, anyone who wasn't on board just left, and that's
Yeah.
fine, right?
That's
I
fine.
know it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
for everybody. Yep.
Yeah.
But the
Exactly.
people that are here, it's like, when? How would we have crossed paths? How?
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, when we go back to you and Tom, like, it's just connections made online. You don't know where it's gonna go, and then all of a sudden, it can really blossom into something really incredible. And I mean, I feel like that's where we are here in HJP. We're getting to know each other. We're having some really wonderful shared memories with one another.
Yeah.
It's been such a blessing for so many people. So yeah, it's been so great. Um, what has been your personal growth in this journey? I know that this has been a. Oh, sorry.
I'm laughing because it's like, God, where do I start?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I know that this is a first time experience, or is this a first time experience leading something like this? I know that you have the experience with content creation, but I assume this is your first time directly organizing and leading a growing community. Uh, what has the role of founder and executive director been like?
That's a very good question. Ah, it, I don't even know like where I start with that one. Um, I feel, you know, I remember when I came up with ORT, Operation Rising
Yeah.
Tide. When I came up with that idea, you saw me. I was in tears at the town hall.
All
I
right.
was like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was shaking. Like when I watched that video back, I'm like, I can't. You can hear it in my voice. I had such
Yep.
cotton mouth. You can hear it. You can see this.
Yeah.
You can see like my
Yeah.
fear, right? But I pushed through, and that was one of those connect the dots day because I didn't even have that I didn't even have that presentation. Like had only started it like 2 or 3 hours before. So
Oh
I
wow.
had the feeling, the impulse, and I was like, town hall? What does that even mean? Like we hadn't even had a town hall. Like what
All
does
right.
that so in a way it did validate like, I have all these ideas and people are enjoying them, right?
Hmm.
Like you guys are all still here and that's
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm on to something, right? Like I'm not totally crazy. Uh the tricky part is I haven't had coworkers in a really long time. Like
Yeah. Right.
and sometimes trying to communicate a vision that I can't really even put into words to you guys who are the front facing firsthand experiences of this thing that we're building. Like sometimes there's that gap of like, I know this is really important. I know it's really important that this one person left or this one person said something or this one thing, right? But when you zoom out, right? When you zoom out 500 members from now, 2 years from now, like that's not going to be, I don't say it's not a big deal, but
Right.
it's like
Right.
it's a pebble in the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And learning as a leader how to communicate that, right? Like how do I don't, it's not, I've learned, right? Like I'm still learning this. I have always been the type of person who just over explains, right? That's why my vlogs are so long. That's why I do these things that are an hour, 2 hours long. That's why I have the
Hmm.
couples table. Like it takes me a long time to kind of explain how I'm feeling. But I'm realizing that the more that I communicate, like sometimes that's not the way to do it because, um, I don't know. I've just learned that like sometimes that's not helpful, right? Like sometimes you kind of just have like people just kind of have to learn on their own, and I can't necessarily be responsible, but like for how 150 people feel, right?
Yeah,
Like
of course. Yeah, yeah, of
you know,
course, of
so
course.
it's just it's a lot to learn. It's a lot of it is first for me, right?
Yeah.
I remember, oh my gosh, like when the HJP Discord was building in October, it was everything felt so big because it was all new. It was all, and it felt like every good thing was a really good thing, and every bad thing was like, oh my god, this is gonna ruin everything, right? And I've learned like,
Yeah.
look, the boat's gonna shake, but we're good, right? Like we have a solid foundation,
Yeah.
we're good. Um, so yeah, like uh, in terms of personal growth, this has definitely been the hardest thing I've ever done, hands down.
Mm.
I'm learning like, you know, I also juggle with guilt a lot, right? Like knowing
Whoops.
that I told you, right? I choose to do this willingly, voluntarily every day. I choose to do this. Did you choose to do this? Did you choose to have this list of responsibilities, this
Oh,
officer
okay.
position,
For the
this
officers.
like yeah,
I
like
see.
you have a full-time job, like people have families. Um
Yeah.
you're a member of HJP, which like can take up a lot of time just being a member. On top of that, you're an officer. You are a leader. You have
Yeah.
responsibilities. If stuff doesn't get done, then it doesn't get done because it's on you, right? And
Right.
like,
Yeah.
that is something again that I willingly choose, but I struggle with like, oh my God, I don't um
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't I don't want to dump my dream on
Hmm.
other people that didn't sign up for it. Right? It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And 10 other people remind me all the time, you guys wouldn't be here if you didn't want to. But I'm just conscious of, uh, you know, it's like, well, how do I continuously paint the vision of what we are all trying to build so it doesn't feel like I'm just telling you what I think because it's my whims, right? Like, I definitely
Yeah.
don't want that. I feel like everyone who is here gets that. That's why you guys are still here. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, as I'm thinking of like what are my gaps in how I can develop, like, do my personal development. I'm seeing these gaps, right? Um,
Hmm.
and so, I think a lot of it is putting in the reps. Uh, the first 20 levels in any RPG, right? Like you level up real quick
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're doing all your firsts, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what this first phase has been. And
Hmm.
now, you know, I think the things that are going to be the things that we have to deal with in the next like 6 months are going to be things that we just can't foresee, right? Like it's just going to be like, here's this
Yeah.
thing that's happening, let's deal with it. Um,
Um, it's a
because
bridge
we've
we
kind
cross
of
when we get there.
exactly, yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to be something like I don't know, something you can't plan for,
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know
Um.
if that makes sense. Did I answer your
No, it
question?
does, and it does. But I had a quick comment on just like the whole guilt thing with officers. I am an officer at HJP, like I'm an historian, and part of the historian's job is to we're trying to capture all the moments and we're everything that's happening, all the events. We try to get blog posts, Instagram posts. Um, we try to capture everything and then put them on the website or on the Instagram. And this is how I explain it. I'm a gamer. Like I game recreationally in my free time, but and I was a solo player, like many of us here at HJP before we joined the community. So we were going to game regardless, but
Right.
we love HJP so much, and we love being a member here so much that we literally just took on additional responsibilities because we want to continue to see it thrive and grow and do all the very exciting things um, that we are doing into the future. So it's it is just something out of love and out of passion and genuinely it's been such a pleasure. So I understand that that doesn't cure the guilt, but at least from my perspective, like that's
Yeah.
genuinely how I feel.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so have you or has there been any unforeseen surprises with taking on um, this new role that previous life experiences or research couldn't have prepared you for?
Um, like, mm, you know, nothing like specifically that I would point out. I think like, I have a lot of evidence and signals and messages of like things that affirm that what we are doing matters.
Hmm.
And every single one of those is a delightful surprise because I definitely think like my default is to think like, does this actually matter? Does this actually matter? Like that is just that's on in my head 24/7. And so I'm always looking for evidence to prove myself wrong, right? Like, yes,
Hmm.
it does, and here, right? Um, and I can countless example. I mean, Ishtar's blog, right? Your
Oh,
brother's blog, the most recent
yeah,
blog
yeah.
on our website. Tom and I were like tearing up reading that. Just
Hmm.
and that's just one individual experience in HJP, right? Um, that to be a part of making that experience be a thing is so cool. Like that validates so much of like, yes, you were on the right track. You know your ideas aren't crazy. Yes, this matters. Yes, you are connecting dots that only you can see, and it's right. It works. It's good. Like, yes, right. Um, and to me, I think the unexpected from here on out is from here on out, right? Because, you
Hmm.
know, uh, coming up with HJP, converting it from a creator centric, model to a community centered model, and then on top of that, throwing in the nonprofit organization layer, um, that was kind of like all in one phase, right? We have 501c3, right? That is a
Yeah,
whole. I feel like I know what to do. Uh, but that's to me gonna be. I'll be very interested what our conversation is gonna be like 6 months from now. Let's put it that way, right?
oh,
Because it's like
sure.
I could talk all day. Hey, this matters and blah blah blah. But now I got to go convince people. I have to like tell somebody who's not in HJP. I have to, I
Hmm.
have to tell a possible donor or sponsor why this digital community center should exist, right? Like that's gonna be, you know, I feel equipped to do that, but I haven't done it yet. So we'll see. I don't
I
know if that
got you.
answered your
Yeah,
question. Did I answer your question?
it did. It did. It did. Yeah, that's great. Um, let's see. I think we are coming to 10 o'clock my time. I don't know if anybody. I haven't looked at Discord for a hot second. Oh, we got stuff. So I don't want to hold up.
Do you have
So I'm
raid?
the white mage in Clan Nutsy.
Yeah, I was like,
Um,
don't you have raid right now? Oh, you are muted. Did I just mute you? I think did you? Oh, I think you did. You push your mic
oh,
mute?
you know what? I fat fingered the space button,
Okay,
so it
yeah,
muted me.
you're
Um,
good.
okay, cool. But yeah, like I need to be white mage for the team, yeah, because who's gonna floor tank otherwise? Um, but I do want to ask one more question, and then
Yeah,
we could do a quick pause, and then we could. I have just tons and tons of questions, so we could always keep going, and then we could take it up or pick up where we left
episode
off.
2. Yeah,
Yeah, with episode two. So I guess my last question is, how have you made any discoveries on things you love about this process? Um, yeah, actually, yeah. There's more to the question, but let's leave it there. Um, any new discoveries on things you love about this entire thing? About you as a person, or how we've
yeah.
evolved as HJP.
Let's see. I think the thing that I Wait, what was the question? How did you phrase it?
The, yeah. The question is, have you made any new discoveries on things
Right.
you love about this process?
Okay. So this is kind of I have a simple answer,
Okay.
but I kind of love it. And I think that is that my approach, HJP, a lot of what, you know, a lot of this community and all the interactions we have. I think the discovery that I kind of always knew but wasn't able to articulate until literally you're asking me right now is that what we are doing is simple, right? Like it's just human connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like it's not this crazy new invention, it's not this new platform, it's not, you know, it's not like this revolutionary thing. But I think that's why it's so special is that it just goes back to what humans need most, which is community, right? Like
Yeah.
if you look at our hierarchy of needs, right? Like you need human connection. That is
Mm-hmm.
a huge part of what makes, our life, right? Like that's
Yeah.
part of our
Others.
humanity is human connection, right? And
Yeah.
the fact that it's just fostering that connection, that's all it is. It's just like, yeah, we member led events and personal, you can put in all these like layers and vocabulary and all these things to describe like all these things that are happening. But to me, it really is just, we're just going back to the basics, right? Like what's
Mm-hmm.
special is that the way that we've built it is in a unique way that if you went back 50 years and you told somebody that, yeah, we get to, how would I even explain it to someone 50 years ago? Like there's these
No
video
idea.
games and there's a thing where we connect on the internet and we literally play like with people
You
in
fight
other countries and different time zones and
fight
like,
the dragons. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't know how to
Like it
explain
would
it.
sound it would sound like magic, right?
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
but but because we are doing that, right? Like we are like formalizing that, formalizing that, building that, saying that, declaring that that is our purpose, is just fostering human connection through this specific passion and interest and activity that we love. Like it has been a you know a discovery in some way of like, there are so many people here that I admire, right? So many people who are older than me that have incredible life stories to the point where I'm like, gosh, like you should be running this thing. Who am I? Like, who am I to be running
Right.
this thing? Like, so many people have such uh, incredible skill sets and experiences and perspectives. Um, but like, we've all come together to just play games, and it is simple, but I kind of dig that. I kind of dig that it is this very simple, um, but uh, very very meaningful,
Yeah.
life changing, right? Like a very life changing thing. And I think in today's world, it's getting harder and harder to get access to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want video games to be an escape. I know it is, right? But like it doesn't
Right.
have to be, right? Like yeah, when you're stressed, let's play some Tetris, right? But the fact that you can use this to go, to like have inside jokes because you've spent time in this very unique way that I can't even like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't even explain. Imagine explaining like repo to somebody 50 years ago, and then like this is how we've gotten to know each other, is like we put a bunch of junk that we collect in this
Yeah.
haunted house, we
Yeah.
move pixels from one room to the other. Like I don't even know how to explain that, um but that memory is so real, right? Like I can go to Anime Expo, I can see
Absolutely.
the semi-bot and have genuine excitement, and everyone there gets it. Like how cool is
Yeah.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyway, I could definitely gawk and geek about all the positive impacts of HJP. But the other thing is just like, I think for a lot of people, myself included, especially, HJP allows us um, to be genuinely ourselves in a lot of ways, right? And I think that goes
Yeah.
back to anonymity, right? Like I think so many people I don't know your actual names, right? And I
You
would
don't
love
know what you
to,
look like. Yeah.
yeah, but I think that allows you to like you don't have to prove anything here, dude. Like you could just show up exactly how you are with however you want, um, and you'll
Yeah.
see that we enjoy that you as you are, exactly as you are. You don't have to prove
Mhm.
anything or try to fit in or whatever. Um, I think that's really special. I feel like that's such a cool thing that we've been able um, to get people
Cultivate
to
here.
connect. Yeah, in that
Yeah.
way where there's no like. I mean, I know there is a mask in a way, um, but in a lot of ways, I feel like that there is an unguardedness. Like
Hmm.
I would be curious to see an HJP in person, right? Like I think I'm sure it would be fine, right? But I think the online component actually works in our favor. I
Mm.
think that it works in our favor in a lot of ways, but I think that anonymity, uh, being the in being the introduction, and then you play Repo, you play Final Fantasy 14, you get into a Sprouts Ultimate Legend group, you form these like you have memories, you have inside jokes, you get to know the person behind the player, but you never had to prove anything from the start. I
Mm.
think that dynamic is hard to find. I think it's hard to
Yeah.
find. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Yeah. No, that's great. Thanks so much, Heather.
Yeah.
This was really, really fun. I'm really glad we did this. So yeah, let's do a quick save on where we are now,
Okay.
and we can take it. We could pick up right where we left off for episode 2, or we can do another topic. I think you and I will figure that out in between. But something that I do want to say is we want to include as much of the community in this as possible. So if you guys ever have any questions that you want me to ask Heather, um, any topics you want to bring up, like I can do absolutely do that, and it would be a great pleasure, um, to be in that position to yeah, to ask the community's questions. Other than that, I think we're all set for today. So thanks so much, everybody, and
Yeah.
yes, we'll see
And
you next time.
really quick before you end, you know, I just want to thank everyone in HGP, because this is definitely something I could not have done by myself, right? Like it's just it definitely from so many aspects is a community minded thing. Everyone has an idea, everyone gives in feedback, and I think everybody knows this. You can go up into a group of 50 people and be like, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this?" But it's really hard to get the buy-in to get people to, want to participate in a thing that's like, kind of cringy and like what is this, and it's kind of confusing, but like everyone here is on board uh enthusiastically, and it's just incredible. So thanks to everyone at HJP, but also Suin, thank you for agreeing to do this. um
Yeah, absolutely.
and for the record, let me just put it out there. I asked you to like we came up with this idea because um I want to, as part of my personal growth, like I want to do a better job of explaining why I'm so passionate about this, what my vision is, and to, sometimes like if I look back in the past couple months, I felt like I was so like overwhelmed and kind of drowning in like, here's why
Yeah.
all this stuff matters, and I didn't know how to um, share it, right? And um, I just really enjoy like your genuine curiosity for a lot of these things, right? Like I think that you, in a way that I connect dots, I think that you do in a very unique way as well. And so I think that
Hmm.
you are, you know, you are able to ask questions that I feel like, um, are just really good questions, right? Like really good in terms of here's what the community should know, but here's what like anybody who's learning about HJP should know. So shout out to you. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for just your passion and everything you do with HJP.
Mhm.
It's been awesome. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, so we plan to do this regularly. We're not going to put a publishing schedule on it, but it's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
something that we want to do
Yeah.
regularly. And we're gonna post this on YouTube, and then also once the audio podcast for HJP kicks off, we'll put the audio on there as well. But yes, like Suan asked really good questions, but if you guys have any questions about anything, like that, this is like literally we're creating this for that purpose, right? Is to make it so that if you have any confusion about anything, like here you go. Here's where we can talk about it together. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
All
All
right.
right. And yeah.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Okay.